Hey everybody, it's Brett and welcome back to my channel where today, as promised, I'm going to have a little 2026 preview for you. So 9 books to put on your radar. Let's talk about them. Out of these 9 books, I'm not hitting on some obvious heavy hitters. There's one I have in here that is definitely a heavy hitter, but the other ones I just didn't feel the need to necessarily talk about on here because I think that there's been so much about them already. And by those, I mean new George Saunders that is coming out, as well as new Gillian Barnes that are coming out both in January. I have not read either one of them yet, but those are coming. But again, I think they're going to get enough coverage of their own without needing this extra little tiny push from my channel. I will say most of these are in order in terms of date of when they're coming out. The first one is due out January 13th. I'm 3/4 of the way through it right now, and it is so funny. Literally one of the funniest things that I've read in years, that I find myself laughing out loud constantly and having to read passage after passage to my husband, despite the fact that he knows nothing about what this book is about. The book is Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash. It's about a family with 3 girls, all of which are between the ages of like 8 and 17, who are all very distinct personalities. At any rate, their parents are going through a little bit of marital strife and decide to open up their relationship and what happens. But that's just part of the story because the family gets embroiled in something, which I don't even want to tell you about because I don't want to give it away. But this book is so funny. And I cannot believe, I know that Madeline has a book of short stories, which I never knew about. This is her debut novel. It is so quick and quick-witted. So please put this on your radar, especially if you need a laugh, because it's great. That's the first. Next, coming out February 3rd, and thank you to Zando and Tin House for this copy, Clutch by, sorry, I'm covering her name, by Emily Nemens. It says, Clutch follows a group of 5 women, friends for 20 years as they go through the biggest challenges of their lives, asking, when you're hanging on by your fingernails, how could you extend a hand to the ones you love? Jonathan Escoffrey says, Clutch is a sharp, heartfelt celebration of modern friendship, positioning it as the backbone of our social lives. A big-hearted and daring novel from one of our finest creative and critical minds. I love this cover. I just think this sounds great. And I was looking on Edelweiss the other day, and this was one of the titles that booksellers and people who've gotten preview copies of it have had big love for. So again, this comes out February 3rd. Then another title I'm really excited about is Grant Ginder's So Old, So Young. I don't know if any of you ever read the People We Hate at the Wedding, which I thought the book was fine. I thought that the movie they made out of it, I think for Amazon, was just terrible. But this is about a group of friends. From Grant Ginder, the best-selling author of The People We Hate at the Wedding, comes a novel of impending millennial middle age that is part love story, part tragic comedy. 5 parties over the course of 20 years bring 6 college friends together, exploring the ways we run from and cling to our friends in love, life, and death. I think this is just a great cover. It's also, the premise of this is kind of giving me Stephen Rowley vibes, kind of even a little bit of The Celebrants. So I can't wait. People are loving this. A lot of the comments that I'm reading, people just think this is his best book. So really excited for this one. Then out in February as well. Oh, this comes out in March. Whidby by T. Madden. I think you're going to hear a lot about this book. This is very buzzy right now. This is set in the Pacific Northwest, Whidby Island, and it is a murder mystery, and it centers on 3 women who were all assaulted by the same man, and each of them telling their story. I can't wait for this. I've just been holding off to read it because I wanted to do it a little closer to the publishing date, but I might have to jump on sooner. And thank you to Mariner Books for this copy. Again, this is out in March. This next book, it's coming out from Hogarth Books. I knew that this book was coming for a while because my friend Drew Brown was at the time a producer that I worked with on this show that you will never have seen unless you are a rabid Amanda Bynes or Jenny Garth fan. It was called What I Like About You. Drew was my producer, and I cast the show. Anyway, Drew's son would come to the set a lot with his wife, and his son has autism. And we'd see Woody up in Drew's office and say hello to him, and his wife Mary was so lovely. So a short time ago, I knew that Woody had gone to UCLA, but he graduated from UCLA as the first non-speaking autistic student from the university and received top honors from their writing program. He ended up getting a deal with Hogarth Books, and this is his first, which is called Upward Bound. I'm just going to read this to you. Upward Bound is not a place anyone dreams of spending their days. The dreary adult daycare center for Los Angeles' disabled community is, for many of its clients and staff, a place of last resort. This includes Carlos, a young aide who lost his mother as a boy and now works there alongside his beloved sister, Mariana. Jorge, the gentle, non-speaking giant whom Carlos seeks to befriend and prevent from escaping. Tom, a beautiful young man with cerebral palsy who pines for Anne, the summer lifeguard at the center's pool who feels out of her depth. Then there's Dave, Upward Bound's director, who came to LA to pursue an acting career but now channels his passion into staging an overly ambitious holiday show starring the center's irrepressible clients. Framing these interlocking narratives and connecting them in surprising, shattering ways is the riveting and sometimes ironic testimony of Walter, a recent community college graduate who, after a family tragedy, must return to the company of his disabled peers. In Upward Bound, Woody Brown has created an indelible, authentic, and profoundly moving group portrait of autism and other disabilities, all illuminated by his empathy, sly sense of humor, and enormous gifts as a novelist. With remarkable sophistication, insight, and creativity, Brown depicts a community too often invisible in literature and society. Filled with characters you won't soon forget, Upward Bound will inspire and touch you, teaching you as much about yourself as the tender, miraculous world behind the center's doors. I mean, this thing sounds so good, you guys, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Woody. I'm just thrilled, and I'm thrilled for Drew and for Mary. And I have to give you a little insider information too. This is kind of just a fun tidbit. So Drew called me to say that they were working on the audiobook, and Jonathan Groff was supposed to read the main part. And because of some other commitment, he had to drop out. So Drew was asking if I knew anybody who could be good to read the part. So I sent him a list of names, and he was like, this is so great. I'll let you know. And so they did pick one of them, which was T.R. Knight, for those of you who watch Grey's Anatomy. And I thought TR had a very kind of vocal quality that's very similar to Jonathan Groff's. Anyway, TR is doing it. It's going to be a full cast. So if you're an audio person, it could be an incredible read. Again, that actually comes out March 31st. Really excited for that one. Then I saw this book online and was so drawn to the cover. And then when I read what it was about, I thought, I have to read this debut. It's called A Private Man by Stephanie Sy-Quia. First of all, let's just take a moment to give all the feels for this cover. Love it. A debut novel inspired by the true story of the author's grandparents, tracing the slow burn love story between a Catholic priest and a progressive theology teacher across Rome and England during the 20th century. It's the 60s, and David is handsome, charismatic, and sworn to celibacy. An exemplary Catholic priest, devotion to God is all he's ever known and all he ever thinks he will. In London, Margaret is adrift, healing from the loss of her parents and at the end of a recent love affair. Increasingly drawn to the church, she sets out to join the new revolutions of sex and faith, taking up a teaching position at an all-girls school in David's diocese. Decades later, Margaret is being cared for by her grandson, who has just discovered the strange truth of his family's history. So begins the story of forbidden love and ardent faith, devotion and sacrifice as the consequences of David and Margaret's unlikely union play out across generations. A first novel from award-winning poet, A Private Man traces the exquisite love of two brilliant characters caught between passion and piety as they seek to usher the church they cherish into a more progressive era. Okay, first of all, it's giving total Thornbird vibes for those of you who are old enough to even know what that is. But I think this sounds so good. Really excited for it. So again, this one comes out April 14th. Then I got this book, The Radiant Dark by Alexandra Olivia, and it has so much of what I love in a book, meaning a multi-generational family story. Arrival meets Wild Dark Shore in this captivating novel that follows a family over 50 years, a bold and compassionate exploration of the universe around us and what it truly means to be human. It's March 1980, and Carol Gerard and her husband are living an ordinary life in a small town in the Adirondacks. They have just had their first child, and though Carol is struggling with the challenges of new motherhood, her future seems clear until something extraordinary happens, an inexplicable flickering of light in the sky, which is ultimately determined to be communication from intelligent life on another planet. But these beings are 11 light years away, and nothing's known about them other than the fact that they seem to know we exist too. And so begins a decades-long exchange of messages with this mysterious, faraway civilization. As humanity reels from a shifting understanding of its place in the universe, we follow the stories of the Gerard family. Carol, whose fascination with the other life sparks a desperate search for spiritual meaning. Michael, her loyal son, who finds solace not in the stars above his head, but in the ground beneath his feet. And Ro, Carol's bright and ambitious daughter, whose childhood goal to work in interstellar communication will evolve into something far grander. Tracing 5 decades of love, loss, ambition, and self-discovery, The Radiant Dark is a stunning examination of a family navigating their lives with the knowledge that we are not alone. I think this sounds really just very intriguing. I have to be honest, like when I first looked at it, it was like the sci-fi part, we'll see, but I'm totally in. So this next one is the one that I was going to talk about that's going to be a big book. And but I'm just so excited about this one. This is probably my most anticipated book of the year, which is John of John by Douglas Stuart. And thank you to Grove Atlantic and to Broadside PR for sending me this, which I'm like coveting like the fucking holy grail. So I cannot wait for this. This is from the Booker Prize winning author of Shiggy Bane and Young Mungo, comes a beautifully crafted novel following a young man returning to his Hebridean island home, a portrait of a close-knit community and a fraying family, of a father's expectations and a son's desires. I am so in. And again, I've been sitting on this and haven't started this yet. I'm going to start it soon. I'm so excited. I don't think anything else needs to be said. Start the award season. Get ready. This is going to be the one. Okay. So there you go. Then another debut, which sounds really wonderful. I don't love this cover and whatever. So it's going to be up to book people to push it if you love it, because this cover is not drawing anybody in. It's called Waiting for a Friend by Natalie Adler. And thank you to Hogarth for this. New York City, East Village, 1984. A young woman with the power to see the ghosts of her friends is haunted by the one who refuses to return. A dazzling, big-hearted novel about friendship and community during a time of devastation and defiance. Renata is a young dyke about town who can see ghosts, something she's done more and more of lately as too many of her friends are dying of a new, terrifying disease. When Renata's best friend, Mark, dies of complication from AIDS, Renata is devastated by the loss of the person she loved most in the world. And to her disappointment and increasing despair, Mark seems unwilling or unable to return for the proper goodbye they were both denied. While Renata waits anxiously for Mark, she must stay vigilant. A mysterious police-like force has begun ridding the East Side Village neighborhood of anything abnormal or inexplicable. Okay, I just had to take a sidebar, and this is the third book that the word inexplicable has come on the notes in the back. What first seems like a scam reveals itself to be a far more sinister, targeting the soul of Renata's community. With her band of lovely eccentric pals and lovers, Renata is determined to fight back against the erasure of her friends' memories and the sanitizing of her beloved New York. But haunting her every step is Mark, the one ghost who stubbornly refuses to appear. Both heartbreaking and healing, tragic and triumphant, Waiting on a Friend is a magical retelling of queer history and a celebration of youth and camaraderie. With pathos and humor, empathy, and an edge, Natalie Adler freshly reimagines the past for a new generation, reclaiming the spirit of resistance and determination that would become one of the era's defining legacies. I don't know, ghost stories, AIDS crisis, friends, people fighting for their friends. All of this is like catnip to me. So I think that, again, sounds really wonderful. And then lastly, I have one nonfiction book that I think sounds really cool, especially if you're a Stephen King fan. If you're not a Stephen King fan, more than likely this will not appeal to you, and this will be the last book. So if you're ready to leave the video, you can go now. But it's called Monsters in the Archive, My Year of Fear with Stephen King by Carolyn Bix. Okay, so Carolyn Bix was named the University of Maine's inaugural Stephen E. King Chair in Literature. So she became the first scholar to be granted extended access by King to his private archives, a treasure trove of manuscripts that document the legendary writer's creative process, most of them never seen before or published. The years she spent exploring King's early drafts and handwritten revisions was guided by one question millions of King's enthralled and terrified readers have asked themselves. What makes Stephen King's writings stick in our heads and haunt us long after we've closed the book? Bix focuses on 5 of his most iconic early works, The Shining, Carrie, Pet Sematary, Salem's Lot, and Night Shift, to reveal how he crafted his language, storylines, and characters to cast his enduring literary spells. While tracking King's margin notes and editorial changes, she discovered scenes and alternative endings that never made it to print, but that King is allowing her to publish now. This book also includes interviews Bix has had with King along the way that reveal new insights into his writing process and personal history. So for anybody who's a King fan, this is going to be an obvious choice. I just think it sounds fascinating. I can't wait to dive in. I mean, those particular books were literally my high school years. So I can't wait. Really, it sounds great. So that's it, you guys. 9 books to get you excited for 2026. If you like this kind of video with these preview kind of things, let me know, and I'll do another one as more stuff starts to come in for kind of after April going into May, if that appeals to you. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you all soon.